So I've got my Vitamin Water Zero XXX because it's for adults, I guess? No. Acai Blueberry Pomegranate. I've not ever actually taken the time to figure out why this is called X. Oh, I get it. Because these three things are supposed to be good for me or something. I don't quite get it. In any case, if X marks... Yeah, I don't get it. Anyway, all that being said, episode 203 of Coast to Coast Pinball is upon us. Let's go. Welcome to Coast to Coast Pinball. My name is Nate Shivers. This is a podcast, a commentary, and I am a man out of quarters. How are you, friendly listeners? I've missed you. I was on the East Coast last week doing events, and if you listen to this show, when I'm out traveling doing these evening events for Taylor Guitars, for this wonderful company that lets me work for them, I can't do podcasts very well because I'm sick of my own voice by the end of the night. The weekend happened, I was hanging with my girl, and now here we are on a Monday night, not watching Monday Night Football, not playing in the rain. It's raining. It's raining here in San Diego, in beautiful Southern California. It's raining as we come to you not live on Monday, November 2nd, 2015. Happy November. I hope your Halloweens were filled with tricks and treats, etc., etc., etc. How you doing? I'm doing good. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on with the podcast. I've got guests stacked up that I, in a slow moment, said, hey, I should have you on, and you on, and you on, and they all said, sure. And then I'm just trying to get to everybody, because I got shows I want to do, and people I want to talk to about pinball, so that's happening. We're going to take care of some of that tonight. Nick Baldridge from For Amusement Only comes on tonight to explain to me what exactly a bingo pinball machine is, because I'm very ignorant to that whole world. That's happening tonight. We've got more guests lined up. My super top secret video projects took a huge leap forward. At least one of them did today. And I still can't tell you really much about it other than I'm excited. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really cool. I'm happy where that's progressing. That's a lot of fun. I am playing a lot of pinball, actually, in my home. Playing a lot of America's Most Haunted, a lot of Metallica, and a little bit of Twilight Zone. And that's been a lot of fun when I'm here. And I have not been here that much. So sorry about the lack of episodes. I will try and bang some more out. I've got some things to talk about. It's one of those weird periods where there's a ton happening, but I don't know that there's a ton to comment on in the news. But there is stuff on the forums we'll get into in forum static that I want to touch on. There's going to be more news soon. But let's hit up some quick stuff here.
5 fast thoughts.
All right, 5 fast thoughts tonight. Number 1, congratulations to the now number 5 ranked player in the world on the IFPA rankings charts, the WPPR rankings. Steve Bowden, friend of the show, funwithbonus.com. Not only did he win the tournament at Expo, he goes to the Sanctum in Connecticut and takes down the 24-hour final battle tournament. And I do mean 24 hours. I would love to go to this tournament. And the timing almost worked out that I could have been there had I planned ahead of time. But the folks in Connecticut at the Sanctum with their, I don't know if it's a private club exactly is how we would call that, but it's a co-op, a club, I don't know. But Jim over there at the Sanctum puts on this 24-hour-long match play tournament, and Steve Bowden takes it down. I think they had over 60 players play in the event. It's worth quite a few points. I mean, a lot of points. So Steve Bowden takes it down. He has vaulted himself into the top 5 pinball players in the world as per the IFPA pinball.com rankings. That's amazing to see. Congratulations to Steve. Fast thought number 2. Wizard Mode, the upcoming documentary about Robert Gagnon, raised $43,000 $1,000+ during their Indiegogo campaign. They had matching funds from a documentary company, and they have over $47,000 to produce the full-length feature film Wizard Mode, detailing the life and pinball times of Robert Gagnon. That's very exciting. Congratulations to them. I certainly threw in what money I could send their way to help out, and I can't wait to see that. The short they did can be seen at Wizard Mode Film. I don't have it right. That's terrible of me. But if you just Google Wizard Mode pinball documentary, you'll find their official website, which I bet is saved in my cache, wizardmodefilm.com, and you can find that there. So congratulations to them. Looking forward to that. Fast thought number 3. This weekend, if you are in Europe, anywhere in striking distance, is the Dutch Pinball Open Expo, which almost sounds a bit redundant, but that's okay. The DPO Expo 2015. They are promoting this heavily with Roger Sharp appearing and Greg Ferris appearing. Check it out if you go to nfvpinball.nl and you do your little Google Translate. If you're an English speaker, you can check out the details there, or if you're listening from afar, you probably already know, because this is going to be a very well attended pinball expo. I'm sorry, I don't have more of the details, like, where it is exactly, although I'm efforting those as we go. It is in Drunen in the Netherlands. I don't know how to pronounce that town, but so if you're over in the Netherlands or anywhere near, definitely check out the DPO Expo. I know they had a really good year last year, and this year looks to be excellent as well. Lots of pinball machines and tournament play and such. I say tournament, but I can't find any of my details on that, but trust me, DPO Expo, check that out if you're over there. I'm trying to give a little shout out to our European friends. Fast thought number 4. Did you see Lyman Sheets on Dead Flip last week? Lyman Sheets is one of those people in pinball that everybody knows who he is. He's super highly regarded as one of the great minds of all time in pinball and pinball designs, and great player of all time. But you don't see him a lot, out there in the public eye, so to speak. So when it was announced that Dead Flip and Jack Danger and the boys would be having Lyman on the live stream, I was surprised, and it ended up being a lot of fun. I watched some of it tonight. Friend of the show, Jody Dankberg, was on there. He actually beat everybody in a game. Jody beat Jack and Lyman. But overall, you see what a great player Lyman still is. And really cool to see Lyman kind of out in the public eye doing that, because he's one of the greats. It's cool to see him. So enjoyed that. Check out Dead Flip. Tonight's stream, the Monday, November 2nd stream, if you want to see a Coast2Coast Pinball t-shirt on a handsome gentleman, you can check out the Dead Flip stream where they're playing Kiss. There you have it. Donate to kids, etc. Fast thought number 5. Replay FX has announced a date for 2016. We have confirmation of Replay FX, the sequel, so to speak, July 28th through 31st. It's my birthday, 2016, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, at the David Lawrence Convention Center. Also, Pinburgh, again, will be at Replay FX, 700 players. Registration for Pinburgh, for those of you wondering, for 700 spots. Registration opens on December 1st. So don't dilly-dally around. You need to register. What a fantastic time. I think the waiting list will be even longer and harder to get into Pinburgh this year. That is my prediction because of the rave reviews from last year. So very excited to see Replay FX happen again. Had a lot of fun there last year. Cannot wait.
Forum static.
All right, Forum Static is where we highlight some of the conversations happening on internet web forums based around pinball. Much of this comes from Pinside. I also like to check out the Tilt forums. Is it Tilt-forums? See, I need to have these things open as I talk to them. What kind of host am I? Tiltforums.com. Check it out. All right, first, off of Pinside, I wanted to talk about Alien Pinball. There's been a lot of movement in the Alien Pinball official game thread as people are anticipating seeing playfield artwork. We saw the back glass artwork, we saw the cabinet artwork, and now there's a lot of, I think, commotion and excitement building up to when we see more of the Alien game. I contend, and actually, I gotta say, post-Expo, Full Throttle really good reviews. People that went out and played Full Throttle at the launch and then played Full Throttle at the on the expo floor, I heard mostly really positive things. I've been a tad lukewarm on Full Throttle, really positive on it from the point of view of it being new and something different, and it definitely feels different. A little lukewarm on, I don't know, the overall, I think, package of theme and artwork. Not really, exciting me too much. However, great reviews, which I contend bodes very well for Highway Pinball, because I think, and I've said this before, the biggest customer for Full Throttle is going to be Alien Pinball buyers and owners. So if you're not keeping tabs here, the Highway Pinball system is a swappable playfield setup. So when you buy the cabinet and the game, you can then buy just playfields after that and swap the playfield and the artwork on the side and the back glass out. I don't know if Full Throttle will be a gangbusters huge runaway success by itself. I think Alien Pinball, I mean, the momentum is certainly there. We've seen Whitewood drawings, we've seen some art now. I think that Alien Pinball could blow up for Highway. Now, the challenge, as we all know, building pinball is not the easiest thing to do. So if they can get the games built en masse and get these things out and shipped around the world, I think Alien Pinball could be huge. And then I think a lot of those people who buy Alien Pinball, if they're happy with the product, will look at their game and see the value in being able to buy just a playfield of Full Throttle and have a second game to swap in. I would certainly feel like that. So I think Alien is incredibly, incredibly important for the company. I know they're already working on titles beyond that, but I think Full Throttle will have legs after Alien is released. That is my prediction. So, according to Arik Lawson, who's the art director for the Alien project for Highway Pinball, the artwork has been submitted to Fox, and I think this has been quite the difficult process, because Alien was announced a year ago, and they've had to do the unenviable dance of game development under the public eye. I hear this being said and sort of almost lamented by almost every small or smaller independent pinball company, how difficult it is to, develop everything when people are sort of watching over your shoulder, and how they envy Stern to be able to sort of work in quiet and work behind the scenes and just do their thing. And then here's our game and go from there. And Highway Pinballs had to basically announce Alien, take all the excitement, all the fanfare, have Dennis Nordman leave the company. So we had changes in playfield designer. They made a great move, I think, bringing Arik, someone's heavily respected for his eye for the art packages and design aesthetics. Someone very active in the community. Bring him in to work on the game. Very smart move. They've had delays. Andrew came on this show and set some very lofty goals for when he wanted to ship games, how many he wanted to ship. The reality of working with a company, like Fox on a property is closely guarded and held, like Aliens, I'm sure, is set in, and there's been some hang-ups. And the whole thing's difficult. So they've had to do all this with the pressure of people watching them, and that's not always fun. So it will be very interesting to see what happens and what the reaction is the day we see the playfield, because that's going to be a big day, and I'm really looking forward to it. That's going to be a record a show that night type of day for this guy, I can tell you that. So one thing I did take away from the conversations going on in that thread, if you're not following it, it is a long thread. People were sort of asking about, one-liners and call-outs that we might see appearing in the game. And the takeaway I got from Arik's responses is this will not be a funny game. This is a serious game where they're looking to set a tone of those first two Alien movies, which was horror and suspense and a thriller and dark. And people want that. I see that's getting, thumbs up, and people are into that. And it kind of made me think about Alien as a property. And it made me think back to, and I don't know if I read this email or not on the show, but somebody emailed me recently that had listened to the early Coast2Coast Pinballs, like two and a half years ago, where I think I said something like, Game of Thrones and Walking Dead, very popular intellectual property, probably wouldn't make great pinball machines because there's nothing funny about them. They're so serious. And here we are with both of those games out, and The Walking Dead having a huge push in popularity right now due to the rule set being so complete and so good, and Game of Thrones, by all account, being a first day of release hit. People saw the game, played the game, and they bought the game. Granted, the artwork package was a bit of a fiasco, but once we got to the actual game, seems like Game of Thrones is going to be a big hit. And I, at the time, I was thinking, those are too serious, possibly. I probably would have said the same thing about Aliens. I think we're into this era of more serious adult-themed pinball machines, more so than any other time that I can think of. If you look back at the history of popular pinball machines, what else has been there that was really serious? If you look back into the 70s and 80s, there were themes that were sci-fi, that were sort of more serious. I think of a game like, something like Space Invaders, which, a lot of us clearly think it was a ripoff of Aliens, or, even like Xenon, and games of that era, that sort of like more dark sci-fi thing. Certainly those have a more serious tone, but they were limited in that they were, early solid-state games that couldn't get deep into call-outs and the music and display graphics and such. So you couldn't get that serious. If you look through the DMD era, there aren't a ton of real serious themes. There's a few that follow some movies. Judge Dredd has some darkness, but it's dark humor, it's dark comedy. Johnny Mnemonic has some of it, I guess. But there's not a ton of really, adult-ish, serious type themes, and that's different. That is a different way of going. I know Spooky Pinball with Rob Zombie, what I've heard and seen and been rumored is it's a very adult horror-based theme. This is not the Medieval Madness. This is not Attack from Mars, where we have this theme mixed with a ton of humor to try and appeal to everybody and, the kids and family and everything. This isn't that. These are serious themes. So it's very interesting. It's a far cry from The Simpsons Pinball Party and Family Guy and Shrek, if you will. So I don't know. I think that we're definitely in a time period with pinball thought where the crowd buying these games is definitely open to darker, more adult type themes. So anyway, moving on with Forum Static. I saw, so there's a long thread right now going about the rumors of a Spider-Man Vault Edition, and I've had a couple emails asking me if I would comment on what I thought about that. So I will just address this. I don't have any insider information on this, but what I do know is when there's tons and tons and tons of rumors, like there is with Spider-Man Vault Edition, I tend to believe them and go with them, and it's probably, the whole where there's smoke, there's fire. So I fully expect a Spider-Man Vault Edition coming out, and if all the rumors that I hear are true, it's a retheme artwork-wise, getting away from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie set, which is good, because that's definitely aged over the past, decade or so, 8 years as it may be. And, possibly using the comic books as a source to draw from for the art, which ends up being, quite a bit more timeless, realistically. If you look at X-Men will be a very timeless-looking game compared to if they had done an X-Men based on just the movies with the actors. I think this is a good move. There's been a lot of questions on whether or not they would need to redo the dot work, the dot matrix display and the callouts and the sounds. I'm telling you, if all these rumors are true and there is a Spider-Man with a redone art package, I 100% expect new dots and sound. 100% expect that to happen. I don't believe they will be, and this is from things I've heard Gary Stern say, they will not be, moving it over to the Spike system. I think if a game was designed on the SAM system, it stays on the SAM system. They are going to build games both ways, as seen by Iron Man and the Vault Edition there. So I fully expect if we do get this rethemed Spider-Man that it'll be totally rethemed with dots, with call-outs, music, the whole deal, but the same layout. And, the rules can be basically the same, if that makes sense. I'm guessing they may surprise me and there could be completely different characters added in. I don't know. I think it's a fairly good move. because there's not a ton of Spider-Mans out there. They command a fairly good price. I've seen them go in the $4,000 range, but commonly out here in California, they're well over $5,000 for one in nice shape. It's a great game. It's a great layout with lots of shots, with interesting shots. I think it's one of the better Stern games of all time, personally. I think if you said to me, what should be the next Vault Edition game, I would probably say Tron, because I think Tron would sell a ton of games as well. And people have said, oh, they already reran that a bunch. And I think you could rerun it again. I think you could do more. There's questions I know on Pinside. Is this even a Vault Edition? If they change all these things, do you call it a Vault Edition? Well, it's the same layout, right? If it is indeed the same layout, then yeah, it's from the Vault. We've updated it. It's changed. And I've already seen people post, like, they will sell their Spider-Man that they own and buy the updated one because they want the classic, timeless, maybe a comic book Spider-Man. So I think it's a fantastic idea, and I think they'll be very successful. I know Iron Man has been very successful, and they are still running Iron Mans, as I saw them at the Stern Factory. So that's very cool. One more bit of forum static. This comes from the Tilt forums. If you don't read the Tilt forums, I encourage you to check it out. There's some other conversation that you might not find on Pinside over on the Tilt forums. It's a nice supplement to your Pinside daily reading. The post here that I wanted to reference is called "What Technology Can Be Used to Improve the Pinball Viewing Experience for the Casual Observer?" And Tim Balls on here wrote this, and he's focusing in on like really high technology that can like track. He's talking about, like, the first down lines on football and things like that. He's wondering if there could be ways to track ball movement on the game and then relay that on a television. And I guess you could go down that rabbit hole, but I kind of just read through the thread, and it sort of turned more into how do we make just the viewing experience in general a little bit better. And there was talk about how Game of Thrones at the final for Expo was sort of a mess because it was the one game at the Expo setup that didn't have a pop-up camera on it, etc., etc. I think the wider conversation here, beyond just what technology could be used in making pinball better on, quote, TV, I think the wider thing is, in person, we need to make pinball a better, viewing event, sport, whatever you want to call it. We need scoreboards at these major events. The major events can be so awesome. Moving finals to Saturday nights of big festivals is awesome. Pinburg proved it. Texas Pinball Festival made a great move, stepping forward and changing their format, so the finals will be Saturday night this year in 2016. I think that's going to be fantastic. I can't wait. We need some way to quickly get scores up and get standings up so that, especially even if you wanted to kind of standardize so that we all sort of just agreed, when we get down to like 8 players, we need some sort of format in a major tournament to show who's left, what games they're playing, and if it's a best of 3, where do they stand? That's really important stuff for the live experience, because all too many times at these tournaments, I'll be sitting there and someone will either recognize me and think that I just know, or I'll have to say to them, like, hey man, and bother some stranger that I don't know, who's winning? Like, where are they in this match? What's going on here? Because there's no way to tell, really. And it's difficult. It's not easy. And if it means, and there was some discussion in this thread about, what comes first, the competition or the viewing experience, I think they got to work together. If it means you slow down the competition a little bit so that we can, make it more enjoyable to watch and possibly create something that, sponsors might be drawn to put advertisements at, so that we could put more money into prize pools and have bigger productions, et cetera, then we should do that. And I'm talking about in the room. In the room. It doesn't have to be crazy in the room, but there needs to be something to better tie in someone who's casually watching into what's actually happening. Whether that's an MC announcing it as they go, which I think would be a fantastic idea. Hey, I volunteer to do that. I will do that at a tournament. If somebody needs somebody to run their mouth and rattle off player stats and who's winning and who won and where they're from, I will help. I will do that. Because I think that's really important to the on-premise viewing. When in regards to televised competition pinball, I don't think we should even worry about the word television. It's probably going to take place on the internet through streams and live streams. Live pinball is tough because pinball can go on forever. We've seen games get exploited and get beaten up to a point where we're literally talking, an hour game can happen. And that is just not that compelling to really anybody. Even the most diehard pinheads probably got a little tired of watching Yori in timeout modes on Star Trek a year ago at Expo. Right. But there are ways to make the streams better. Because I think some of them are very good. And I think that the people doing that work, the Papa TV people, Carl D'Angelo with IE Pinball Inland Empire, what they've done on the budgets they've done it on, with not a lot of help, is pretty amazing. We're pretty lucky to have that. Now it's just sort of tweaking and refining and getting it even farther. And there definitely should be some standardization as far as what we need to know from each player, how we track the matches, whether it's on-screen stuff, whether it's just typing in the chat rooms. We need to have that. So even if you're just updating in the chats on a Twitch feed, that would help greatly. Part of the problem is the flow of the tournaments doesn't take into account the viewership online at all, really. And maybe it should. I know that some players might say, no, it should take care of me playing in this tournament. I think, though, if you take if you back up a little bit and take a wider approach of competitive pinball, the best thing for that player long term is going to be to have a more viewable, watchable, engaged audience around the world. Whether it's on Twitch, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's live, etc. Having more people watch is only going to be a good thing for the sport in general. So if we need to slow down and have start times line up on games and whatnot, then maybe we do that. If we want to make sure there's cameras on all the games that you're going to be possibly able to play, then we should do that. I saw one thing noted that somebody, I believe from Europe, posted in this thread about the idea of picking games, and maybe you shouldn't let players pick the game, just pick their order. I love that. And I've had this argument with Josh Sharp before. I think the whole drive the bus thing in high-level competitive pinball, I think that's bad. I don't like it. And who am I to say? I'm not a high-level competitive pinball player. But I'll tell you, as a spectator, I don't like it. I wish it was randomized. I wish when you got to the finals of big major tournaments, maybe it's a set bank of games you're going to play. You're going to play, if there's 5 games here, you're playing best of 5 on those games. And I don't know. And maybe, the argument could be made, how do you choose which one goes first? Maybe you just do it with total random poll. I like that idea better. I like the idea of the best players winning the biggest tournaments and not getting to choose the game that they played all weekend and got really dialed in on the shots. I like the bit of forcing them into, the unknown a little bit. So, but that's not the way it's been done, and I'm working against a lot of tradition there, I know. But the European posts that I saw said that they don't do that over there as much, and I like that idea. I don't know. That's just my opinion. So, I guess in a roundabout way, what I'm trying to say is, things like telestrators are cool, more camera angles are cool. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to try and get all this going to stream live. And is there a market for competitive pinball edited down after the fact? Will people watch that? Would you pay to watch that? Would you pay $2 or $3 to watch, the finals of It Never Drains in Southern California edited down into it, a 2-hour, video with good commentary over the top telling the story? Would World Series of Poker style? Would you be into that? I don't know. I don't know if there's a market. But the live streams are hard. Just like watching live poker is tough. The World Series of Poker is going on right now. Been checking in a little bit there. It's tough to call that live. It's long. It's drawn out. So I was just thinking about that, reading the forums. Thought we'd chat about that a little bit tonight.
Call the people.
I would like to welcome to episode 203 of Coast to Coast Pinball a man who's soon recording his 237th episode of his podcast, Nick Baldridge. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Nate. How are you?
I'm really good. I like to wave the banner of the most prolific podcaster in pinball, and you've shot me out of the air. I've come crashing to the ground. My hat is off to you, sir. 236 plus episodes. Congrats.
Thank you very much.
What I don't understand is how you've managed to do this talking all about EMs and bingo.
It's a big subject. So you would imagine that I would run out of things to talk about since, of course, there's no new EM or bingo news.
There certainly is not any new bingo or EM news. We'll dive into bingo here in a minute, but I want to ask you, do you hate flippers?
No, quite the opposite. I love them, especially the 2-inch variety.
I think you hate flippers.
Well, I mean, maybe a little.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so the bingo and electromechanical podcast, amazing. My hat is off to you. What I wanted to have you on the show for, and we'll dive into bingo in itself in a little bit, but I wanted to talk to you about the York show that just happened 3 weeks ago and what you were able to pull off with getting and assembling this great collection of bingo pinball machines all at one place for everyone to see, appreciate, and play. And how did you do this? Where did they come from? And what was the reaction like at the York show when you had all? And how many games did you actually end up with? Because it was pretty amazing seeing the photos.
Yeah, it was really fantastic. I had been talking with several of the key bingo collectors here on the East Coast for a while, and the idea came up that we could all get together and bring as many bingos as possible. At York every year there's the wood rail row, and that's one of my favorite things about that show is you get to go there and play these fantastic wood rail games that of course you never see anywhere else.
Were there normally bingo games there?
Yes. Jeffrey Lawton, who is the author of the Bally Bingo Pinball Machine books, normally brings 2 or 3 every year. However, this year he couldn't bring any. And so I made the decision that I was just going to get as many as possible there. And so I reached out to everybody, and all the bingo collectors, many of which I've interviewed on my show, brought games. I brought all 5 of the ones that I owned at the time and arranged for a 6th purchase that arrived at the show on Saturday.
What was the title of this 6th bingo game you've purchased?
United's Caravan.
Caravan, okay.
And I help people over the internet and via Facebook and on the phone fix their games. Made a run to a collector's house and picked some up on the way. It was a big deal.
It sounds like it.
Yes. And get there to the show, unload, and another collector who was a listener had convinced a friend. He and his friend had brought a bingo as well. So we had one more than I had planned. We had 13 on the first day, and we had 12 on the second day. So that was a pretty amazing turnout, really.
Did you get to answer a lot of questions? Did people kind of wander over and look for the flippers?
Oh, yeah. So that was part of my role there was as kind of bingo ambassador. So the other bingo collectors and I just kind of hung out in bingo row there. And as people came up, we'd watch them and see if they had any interest, really, or if they were just, plunging balls and then leaving. And most everybody that we talked to was interested in learning how to play the games. And it's one of those things where you can read the score and instruction card and still walk away puzzled.
Yeah.
So what we did is provide a tutorial. And we would walk people through the gameplay steps and, okay, you can reposition things here, you can do things here, here's what you need to do in order to get, your maximum payout. And then if they got a 4 in a row, they would win an autographed copy of one of Jeffrey Lawton's books.
Oh.
Yeah, I bought a case and gave them out to anybody that could make a 4 in a row.
What an ambassador you are. Look at you.
Yeah, I had the sash and everything.
right, so here's where I kind of like peel back the shroud. I don't really understand bingo machines. I'll stop and just tell you how ignorant I am. I don't fully understand what you're trying to do. I don't fully understand how to win or how to lose. And I need you to explain this whole game to me because there's a lot of numbers, there's a lot of holes on the playfield, and I'm a little lost here. So for me and anyone else listening who maybe doesn't quite even know what we're talking about when we say a bingo pinball machine, explain it like I'm 5, if you would.
Sure. And, of course, this is a big subject, so I'll give you the distilled version.
Sure.
When you look at the back glass of any bingo pinball machine, the common theme is that you have 20 or 25 numbers arranged in a bingo card.
Is it always 20 or 25?
It's usually 20 or 25. There were some oddball experiments that Bally did, but for the most part, 20 or 25.
Right, so I'm looking at your Caravan back glass right here, and it looks like there are 24 numbers. Am I missing something?
25.
25. I just don't see the... Oh, there it is. There. I just wasn't where I expected it to be. 25. Perfect. All right.
Yep. And it's arranged in a 5x5 grid. So your goal is to get 3, 4, or 5 in a row. And if you do, you win replays. And on a normal flipper game, you win 1 replay, maybe 2 replays. On a wood rail game, maybe you win 15 replays. Well, on these games, you can win hundreds or even thousands of replays at a clip.
What would I want to do with thousands of replays?
Well, in the olden days, you would cash them in.
Cash them in for money?
For cash. Oh, yeah.
Hang on now. Isn't that sort of like gambling?
More than just sort of. But the difference is that you win based on skill and not on luck. There is some luck involved, especially if you're not a skilled player. Mm-hmm. But in that instance, you're probably dumping in a lot more money than you're winning. But I have seen skilled bingo pinball players. I know skilled bingo pinball players. I am not a skilled bingo pinball player.
How can you not be? You're the man.
I love the machines. I do. But I cannot make a 5 in a line consistently, certainly. There are people who can. And one of the other key features of a bingo pinball machine is advancing odds. So if you get 3 in a row, you win a certain number of replays. 4, you win more. And 5, you win the most, right? Mm-hmm. With advancing odds, you can increase the amount that you'll win. But
how do you advance the odds?
By putting in more money.
Oh, I see.
So you're betting against the machine and you're betting against yourself.
It's an awful lot like a slot machine.
It's similar to a slot machine, especially later slot machines that did have advancing odds.
Why have I, in all my pinball travels, not seen any of these in any of the places that have even older games? Why don't I see these things?
Well, there are certain facilities that do. The Pacific Pinball Museum, for example, has them. The Pinball Hall of Fame has one. The deal is, though, that they are highly illegal to operate.
They're actually illegal?
Yes. And the reason being that they were cracked down on for being gambling devices.
So little old ladies can go to their bingo halls every weekend and play bingo all day, but I can't play a bingo pinball machine.
Correct.
Unbelievable. When was the last bingo pinball machine actually produced?
1980 in the United States. Now, they're actually still being produced today in Belgium.
What are they like? What are the modern ones like in comparison to old games?
Well, you've heard of a game called Wizard of Oz, right?
I have indeed, yes. Once or twice.
It's got an LCD in the back box. Has a bunch of stuff on the playfield, right? Well, the modern bingo pinball machines, as far back as 2003, had an LCD in the back box. And the playfield features are quite different. They kept the same Bally playfield layout, which is standard and familiar to bingo pinball players, but they've added many more ways to win and many, many more ways to lose.
Is it true that so I plunge a ball on a bingo table.
Sure.
And it doesn't land in a hole. I get to keep plunging that ball?
Correct.
Just over and over.
If you look at the bottom of any bingo pinball playfield, there's a hole marked ball return. This hole is not covered. It's not a trap hole. It returns directly to the trough and is lifted right back to you.
Interesting. So really, I'm doing whatever I can to... And it doesn't so much matter where the layout of the holes in the playfield are, it's where they are on the card on the back glass that I'm more concerned about. Is that correct?
Well, you're concerned about both, but yes, initially it's the layout on the back glass. So let's take, for example, let's say you needed the number 7, and you have to get that. Well, number 7 on a 25-hole bingo is in the top rightmost hole. So right off the plunge, it's got to fall in that hole.
Now, hold on a second. Are they all laid out the same?
That is an interesting question. So, yes, pretty much. There, again, were a couple of interesting experiments. But in all 25-hole bingos, the number 7 is the upper rightmost hole.
Why would you own multiple bingo games then?
This is another amazing question here. So...
I mean, I'm not trying to make fun or anything, but
not at all. And this is a common question. So the deal is that each of these games has unique features which make it incredibly compelling and different from its neighbor. You might say this playfield layout is exactly the same as the one next to it. Maybe it's got a rollover button down at the bottom that does something different. But
what could a rollover button do?
Well, that's an interesting question as well.
I'm full of interesting questions, Nick. That's what I do.
That's all you know, apparently.
Except when Jay pops here, but I digress.
So, rollover buttons do things like either spot you numbers on the back glass, as in you don't have to actually make the ball in the hole for it to award you those numbers.
All right, that's valuable.
All right. The other thing it can do is extend what's called the time tree. And for moving numbers bingos, there's a whole... kind of subgenre of bingos where you can change the layout of the numbers on the back glass.
Like, how does that happen?
Oh, it's magic. In fact, it's so magical that Bally called all of their moving numbers features magic something, or mystic something. So let's take, for example, magic squares, which is one of my favorite features. Magic squares are circles of 4 numbers, which are in the corners of the bingo card. So you have your 5x5 grid, and then you have the 4 numbers in each corner, and at a player's command, they rotate.
I'm looking at Bally's Broadway, and it appears to have those.
It does indeed. So they rotate, and the number, let's take in the upper left. You can see on the Broadway back glass that's marked with an A.
Yes.
On the foot rail, there's an A button. When you have that feature lit and you push the button, it'll move the number from the upper left spot to the spot right beside it. And it physically moves it. You can watch it happen.
Interesting.
It's cool. And there's many other moving numbers features. Like the most popular is the Magic Screen. And in the Magic Screen games, the actual bingo card layout completely changes. So you have your normal, 5 in a row. But on the Magic Screen, what it reveals are these different sections where you don't have to have the numbers that you make actually touch each other in order to count.
I see. I'm guessing bingo pinball is mostly a one-player game then?
You are correct. There were a couple, again, of oddball kind of experiments where Bally attempted to get people to compete against each other, but those are not true bingos.
What is the Bally hole that I see here surrounding number 16 on this Broadway game?
Well, the Bally hole awards something special. So on my nightclub, which is also a Magic Squares game, the Bally hole awards your first extra ball automatically.
I see. Interesting. how did you find your way into being, I won't use the word obsessed, but being very compelled by bingo pinball machines? Like, what brought you to bingos of all things?
Well, I mean, that's kind of interesting, right? Because I was born in the 80s, and
Yeah, you're younger than I am.
Yeah, I'm you would think I'd be all about the solid state. And I do love solid state, too. I love all pinball. But my wife worked with a pinball collector, and who's local. And I got to know him, and he invited me over one day, and he has a couple flipper games, and have a lot of fun with those. And then he says, come out to the back. I got a couple more machines. I go out there, and he's got 2 beautiful bingo pinball machines. And, of course, I've never seen one before. So he's explained the game to me, and I quickly get overwhelmed with all the knowledge. There's a lot to take in at first. And I don't quite get it. I see, oh, yeah, you win replays. That's great. I didn't have, the ball control skills that I do now, meager as they are. So I didn't win really well. But something about them got me to keep coming back. And so every time I came over, I would give them a shot. And then one day, I won this really rare, difficult to achieve goal on one of the bingos, and I won 200 replays. And the feeling when you push the button and the machine starts making all that beautiful music while it's searching for the replays, and it finds them, thunk, and then it starts ticking up a knock at a time for 200 knocks. It's a pretty special feeling. And at that point, I was hooked.
Talk to me about the podcast. What was episode 236 covering?
236 was covering a repair that I did on a customer's machine. I'm working on a Bally Bikini, and it had an interesting hack or two that was put in by the technician that prevented the normal operation. And so I had to figure out what it was doing,
okay,
what it was preventing, and then reverse that so that the game would operate normally.
What's the average length of your shows?
I'd say about 10 minutes.
Aha! I've got you.
That's do indeed.
Where, no, I'm just kidding. I think it's amazing. I think your commitment to it's fantastic. What I like about what you're doing more so than just and trust me, I think it's so great that somebody is shining such a bright spotlight on this kind of sub-genre of pinball. I think it's fantastic. But what I love is some of the repair and tech talk that you do, because you clearly know a lot about this, and it's something that our industry and our hobby is in dire need of going forward as we start skewing younger. And I think some of the quote old guard and the people who really know how to work on games, they aren't doing it as much anymore. They aren't alive anymore. And to have someone, of some youth to be really able to speak with authority on fixing these games, your podcast can be very long-lived as a tech resource.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's the goal. And we'll see how long I can keep it up.
How long do you think you'll keep it up?
As long as I'm able. As long as there's interesting stuff for me to talk about, or people continue to have questions, I'll be happy to do it.
I can't talk to many people in the world about this, but look, I got 200 and some episodes. You got 200 and some episodes. We're friends here. We're a little club we got going on here.
That's right.
Do you ever have that moment where you're like, I got to record an episode, and you like look at the couch and you're like, or I could sit on the couch, and you just think, I don't really want to record an episode today.
I have had moments, I will say, but then I start thinking about ideas for episodes, and I get incredibly enthused, and I go for it.
Amazing.
But if you listen to the whole catalog, you'll hear a couple of times where I've done work for customers, or I've done work for friends, or whatever, and at the end of the day, I'm just beat.
Do you still walk in and just flip on the bingo game and just like really enjoy playing it?
Oh, yes.
That's what matters. That's really what's important.
Oh, yes.
Excellent. Well, Nick, I really appreciate you coming on. I wanted to bring you on and chat and bring some attention to the York show, even though I haven't gotten to attend. I can't wait to the time I do. And I want people to seek out your show and listen to For Amusement Only. They can search For Amusement Only, EM and Bingo Pinball Podcast, which is the longest titled pinball podcast in the world, I do believe. So you've got that record also.
Thank you.
And check it out. Listen to Nick. If you're jumping into the world of EMs, I think Nick is one of the great resources for you to go get some help, find some ideas, and just be excited about your hobby. So thank you very much for coming on Coast to Coast tonight.
Thank you very much for having me, Nate.
Thanks, man.
Bowen's Cheat Sheet.
Bo and Karen's joining me tonight. We're going to talk about Iron Man. So, Iron Man, a game that Stern has brought back from the dead with the Vault editions. I think they're going to be running these for a little while now. It's a fast game. It's a furious game. I think a lot of people think of it as a shooter's game, so to speak. Talk to me about Iron Man. What should I do when I step up to an Iron Man in a competition situation where I need to put a score up here?
Yeah, Iron Man can be a shooter's game, but it's pretty difficult to pull off as a shooter's game because they're really only the left and right ramp back and forth that are available for shooters. And depending on the particular Iron Man, a missed right ramp can be just death. If it goes halfway up that ramp and then back down again, boom, it's coming at you at full speed, and you don't know whether it's going down the middle, to the left out lane, or anywhere in between. There's not much you can do about that. So if you are really good at shooting ramps, going left ramp, right ramp all day can pay off, but you have to know in your mind that you're really good at those ramps and just don't miss. The reason this is valuable is that the bogey round happens from shooting ramps, and the ramps themselves are worth good points, but then the bogey round gives you an increasing value from 500,000 to $1 million per shot on ramps or loops. If you're strong at ramp shooting, like I've seen Daniele Acciari blow, I must have been almost 20 ramps in a row without missing.
Wow.
On the game during the first Papa Circuit final. It's most of us aren't Daniele.
Yeah.
And so for me, I use bogey as one of the pieces. My goal in a qualifying game of Iron Man is to get to do or die. Do or die you get by completing all 5 tasks that are on the playfield on the same ball. And those 5 tasks are completing the red lights in Iron Man, starting the War Machine multi-ball, starting the Monger multi-ball, starting the Whiplash multi-ball, and completing the blue drone lights, which also light War Machine multi-ball. So really there are only 4 things to do. There's not 5, because the drones and the War Machine go together.
What's the hardest of those 4?
The hardest of those 4 is probably the Whiplash.
Yeah.
But what I find is I find a very particular path through the game that seems to work well. The reason this path works is that you can hit Whiplash during War Machine and have it count. So Iron Man has very particular rules about what you can and can't bring in to other multi-balls, and I think the reason is because of the magnets, that they didn't want both magnets activated at the same time. So when the Monger comes up, that you can no longer shoot Whiplash and have it give you any credit. But you can still start War Machine while the Monger is up, and if the Monger is down, you can also start Whiplash during the War Machine. So the order I like to do things is to play Monger, and then after Monger is over to go play War Machine, and then during War Machine I hit the Whiplash over and over again. I don't aim for Whiplash during the game, I only aim for Whiplash during the multi-ball. And then you pick up the Iron Man targets whenever you can. Usually half the Iron Man targets you'll just hit without really trying.
Sure.
If you happen to have 1 or 2 left, you might aim for them. But the critical part for getting do or die is that all of these things have to start on the same ball. And all of them are spell outs or completions or things that are progression. So, for example, for the drones, I don't expect to hit all 8 drone targets on ball 1, but I might hit 5 or 3. And based on my progress on that, I get to find out whether or not I'm trying for do or die on ball 1 or ball 2 or ball 3. But what I need to have happen is I need to have all of those things happen on the same ball or else.
That's a pretty unique rule set there.
Yeah, that's rare. It was something that happened with a couple other games in the same era, Iron Man and Avatar, and maybe one more I don't recall. But you're right. It's something that not too many other games have, where it's must be on the same ball to qualify the wizard mode. And it's one of those things that puts you always within arm's reach on do or die. I mean, I just described you everything that has to happen, and there are only 4 things. So to get those 4 things accomplished shouldn't be that hard, right? That's where the difficulty of those tasks come into play, and the outlanes and the magnets on the game. That this game is going to kill you off within seconds. So the other advice I have for players playing Iron Man is use your warnings. Like, if you see a ball going down the side, do something about it, and take a warning. Take 2 warnings. But you're going to have to spend your warnings to be successful on Iron Man.
Big outlane drains on that game.
Oh, yeah. And the most common outlane drain, at least for me, is when you're trying to hit the Monger. You need to hit him 6 times to start the Monger multi-ball, and he's got this big magnet right in the middle. So if you hit him right in the middle, you're screwed. The magnet could throw you down the middle. It could it's real bad. So you want to tip the Monger off the very edge. The ideal shot goes glancing off the Monger and then over to the right to the Iron Man targets, and then it bounces off one of those targets and then back to the middle for you to grab on your flipper. You can do that from either side. You want to just glance that and get credit for it without having the magnet come into play. Avatar had that too with the magnet for the
suit guy.
The suit guy.
Yeah.
Testament to how we all remember that so well that we call it the suit guy.
The suit guy.
Not the amp suit. But yeah, same idea. If there's a magnet that's going to kick into play, you want that magnet to hurt you as little as possible. And you do this by glancing the ball off of the things that would cause the magnet to happen. Yeah, and then if you get to do or die, just shut up and shoot your shot. Don't think about do or die. Just do or die is like this super huge countdown of the center spinner where it's like 35 million right now, and then you miss. And it's like 31 million right now, and you miss again. 26 million right now. And you're like, and you're putting pressure on yourself, and it's one of those shots where if you say to yourself and lie and say, I got to shoot the spinner 3 times to get credit, you will do better.
Oh, I love the mental gymnastics. I love the trickery of the mind.
It's like, your last shot. I just need this one more shot. Shut up. Just do it.
All right, that is episode 203 of Coast to Coast Pinball. I want to thank Nick Baldridge. I want to thank Bo and Cairns. I want to thank you, friendly listeners. You're the best friendly listeners a podcast host could ever ask for. T-shirts. Have T-shirts for sale. I've got dark blue T-shirts. I've got some antique cherry red T-shirts. I got some green T-shirts. I need to get pictures. I don't have any pictures of the green T-shirts online. I need to get those up, but I got green shirts too. All the same logo, all the same shirt. Got those available. $16 shipped anywhere in the United States. If you're international, we got to figure that out because you're expensive. You folks are expensive. I love you, though. Thanks for listening. Until next time, play more pinball, be nice to each other, take care of yourselves.